Let's just wait a couple minutes to see who else will hop into the call.
So at the moment, we only have AIB employees here. So yeah, just so you know, guys, we had a problem with announcement. In some places, we have the good time, but on Discord, we have another time. So maybe it will be a very late session today.
The text actually said 4 p.m. UTC, but I had an issue with the Costa Rica time zone.
In the meantime, just so you know, Jay, I updated the third testnet with the new help page. Because it was good for local net, good for staging. Just the latest official testnet was not up to date with the new API. About your last bug.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I just heard that the bug from the help page was fixed with the new testnet release.
Yeah. It's not the testnet release, it's the testnet hotfix.
I see. Thank you. That's cool. That's good to hear. Good to hear.
And yeah, while we are not many here, I would like your opinion on the split I'm doing. So starting with isolating more Tendermint 2, but trying to make something more coherent globally. Are you guys against having multiple make files and the top level ones, one that will basically make flows? So naively making CD folder 1 and make, CD folder 2 and make, etc. Do you prefer to have a single unique top level make file with all the rules? Or is it okay to have per folder make files and the top level one, which is just for top level rules and chaining sub rules? It's just about your opinion at the moment. I think both are okay, actually.
So this is this is refactoring the code base to have Tendermint 2 as one top level directory.
Yeah, and goal is for Tendermint 2 will have its own makefile because it will have its own repository. So the question is, does it make sense to consider that Gno.VM is also a component with its own set of rules of test and maybe custom commands? Gno.Land is another component with another focus. So at the end, we have a top-level makefile, and then we have mainly 4 components: Tendermint 2, Gno.VM, Gno.Land, the chain, and examples. I like to keep examples at the top level, even if that's not the only location with Gno files.
With the plan to so it'll be a monorepo with these 4 components.
Yeah.
And I guess eventually we'll split them all out.
We eventually, I clearly think we should keep a monorepo, but yes, it's an option. Right now, it's more about keeping monorepo, but allowing people to focus on one specific component and making the components more identifiable, like having, I don't know, prefix for the CI rules. So that's not Go test which fails, that's Go test for Tendermint 2 which fails, or that Go test for Gno.Land that failed, etc. So it's about isolating to make mental load, to improve your mental load, while keeping all the advantages of monorepo. And in my head, I think we can keep monorepo for a very, very long time. But you're trying to ease the discovery and allow people to focus. This is the main trigger.
Shouldn't we have Tendermint 2? Isn't there a good reason to have Tendermint 2 split out as another repo sooner?
So yeah, it's an option. It was the first idea. Then we discussed together and we decided to keep it. The reasons why that was that yes, Tendermint 2 is a standalone repo, but anyway, we want Gno Tendermint 2 to not be Tendermint 2. We want Gno Tendermint 2 to be one of the actors. If we imagine being like decentralized DAO and stuff like that, we are one team working on Tendermint 2, not the one deciding for everyone else. So at the end, we will have a fork. This fork can be github.com/gnolang/tendermint2, so a standalone repo within our organization, or to stay just a subfolder for now, and eventually moving it out. But yeah, the main reason of not splitting it was that because even after we are mainnet, even after everything is stable, we don't want Gno to depend on Tendermint 2 choices, and we don't want Tendermint 2 to just have to accept everything we want for Gno. That was the main reason. Maybe we can switch back to another thing, but it was the main reason.
I was hoping that we can get Tendermint 2 to a point, and to have the goal be that Gno.Land does depend on Tendermint 2. Tendermint 2 is good enough for Gno.Land that it doesn't need to change from what it is to be used by Gno.Land. Like if there needs to be a fork, maybe that can be something that Tendermint 2 should support as an interface so that Gno.Land doesn't need to fork it. Say. And I think this would make Tendermint 2 a better value proposition. Okay, it's something you can import, but you don't have to fork. So
it means Tendermint 2 as a single version maintained by us at the moment. At some point, it becomes stable. Then we have 2 options, either proposing an improvement for everyone or playing with interfaces and ways to compose or to extend Tendermint 2 just for our case. That's the main idea.
Mm,
You want me to repeat?
um, sure. Yeah, how do you feel like this should work?
For me, the two options are okay. Either Tendermint 2 becomes autonomous right now, and during the current development phase, we have no problem being the dictators of Tendermint 2 as the main user of it. So at the moment, the GNO core team has full power on Tendermint 2. Then at some point, things change. Tendermint 2 become stable. We announce it as something stable. And then GNO has a new the GNO team and the GNO project has a new constraint of thinking about other users of Tendermint 2. So we have two choices: opening PRs against Tendermint 2 for everyone with perfect backdoor compatibility and stuff like that, or play with interfaces, composition, patterns to make it modular. So we can not force Tendermint 2 to change for GNO needs. Yeah, so this is the option if we want to remove Tendermint 2 from the GNO repo. The other option I see is to say, okay, we will always have our version. Let's make something where the synchronization is easy. We are contributors to the shared Tendermint repo like other companies. And yeah, the thing to upstream and from upstream is just made easy with scripts, so we can easily propose new updates or synchronize new updates from the upstream. That's the two options I see.
Well, how I see it, or how I've been seeing it, is that Tendermint 2 doesn't need forking. So maybe Gno.Land can make like a small patch, right? But for the most part, ideally there's no modifying needed of Tendermint. But rather it's just imported. So the Gno.Land repo of the four, Tendermint, GNO examples, and Gno.Land. Inside Gno.Land, you would import the canonical Tendermint 2. And I think this makes it, yeah, okay. So my argument is that this is what we want for Tendermint 2. If we have a fork, okay, but so that's, in terms of the ownership structure, like who maintains it, I think we do want to see separation happen between the GNO team and the Tendermint 2 team, I think. Because one is more about the language, which is a highly specialized concern, and the other has more to do with distributed network, peer-to-peer stuff, and consensus, which is also separate. So Tendermint 2 does a lot more stuff, but the language itself is pretty big too. And because they have very different I guess like expertise concerns, it makes sense to me that they should have different owners. That said, I don't see why we couldn't have a system where anyone can be members of both. And as long as someone can demonstrate that they understand, like, say, everything about some of the components here or there, then they should be able to, say, become a reviewer, right? And anyone should be able to be a contributor.
Yeah, for me, well, just talking about who owns, who is the maintainer, who is the leader, but who can review, who can not just review, but who can merge something. That's the only question. For everything else, it will be mixed. At the moment, the only people working on Tendermint 2 are people working for GNO first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at some point, we have two options saying one, okay, Tendermint 2 is done. So we make bug fixes and that's all. So in that case, we don't need to have a GNO Tendermint 2 fork, especially if we add some good patterns and interfaces and mock and stuff allowing to extend and customize our usage of Tendermint 2. But if we prefer to go in the other direction and saying that GNO should have its version of Tendermint 2, its own roadmap, and allow a proposal to take 3 months to get validated by the DAO managing Tendermint 2 or whatever, then it makes sense to, Tendermint 2 will have its team. Maybe we will be the main contributors, but anyway, we don't want to limit GNO, and we don't want to bypass a safe governance on the other side. It's like Cosmos for the proposal with the Atom 2.0. One of the goals was to consider, okay, let's experiment on the hub, and we defended to keep the hub simple and build on the edge. Maybe GNO can be where we take a little bit more experiments about Tendermint 2 than taking the risk to open a PR on Tendermint 2 without using it for some times on a real chain or testnet. So yeah, I don't know. It's just about if we split the consent, probably we'll have different pace of reviewing, approving, releasing stuff. So on this point.
Well, and let me say this. What happened with Tendermint, the reason why I'm making Gno.Land and Tendermint 2 is because what I've seen is people who want to implement their ideas for Tendermint and there's not enough time to review everything, and some of the changes legitimately seem good, and at the same time, like, I can point out why we shouldn't do it that way and we should do it some other way, but like there isn't agreement. And it's a judgment call about a lot of these things to some degree. Sometimes I don't think it is at all. And, I mean, in general, like, look at how much Tendermint depends more. Its surface area is larger, for example. That's like a legitimate fact. And so Tendermint 2 is an opportunity to continue along, in my opinion, what was always this like design goal. And I really don't want to see it fork again and like have to go through the same thing again, where there's a split in team and politics because I want to see this thing and then other people want to do something else.
So if that's the goal, maybe Tendermint 2 should just stay in GNO and not become a standalone team. Because if there is a single implementation, worldwide, and it's not intended to be forked or modular. It's just a proposal. Hey guys, you want the same as GNU, and it has this it is simple, it is stable, it is minimalistic. It follows this philosophy. So yeah, if at the end we don't have forks, why it's important to extract it from GNU?
Because because they can be two independent things that work together, and they should be two different repos because they have different licensing models. And I think it should be that way. And so, like Tendermint 2 is Apache 2, and I think that actually will help it get more adoption. Which it needs a little help with. Tendermint 2, we shouldn't try to restrict it because I think it would just do better if it tried to be for everyone. The GNU VM, I think we can make it more restrictive because there's more of a demand for it because no one else can quite replicate it, and it will be exciting enough. And the smart contract space is like not, you can license it almost however you want there. So we should copyleft is good. So we've got two different licenses. And if we all lump them together, then it'll be confusing to people. So I think we have to have Tendermint 2 as a separate repo just to ensure that it's clear that this is an Apache 2 project. Also, they do have completely different skill sets to maintain, so I think it does make sense that there are different teams. If and Tendermint 2 is pretty mature. Like what's there, some things can change, but otherwise it shouldn't be changing much at all. We should add more like client stuff, improve things, but those are like new things that we're adding on top of a solid core. That's not going to change much. So if Gno.Land needs changes to Tendermint, and for whatever reason the person making this change, oh well, I guess yeah, okay, if they're two different teams and someone wants to make a change to Tendermint 2 while working on Gno.Land and wants to make a change simultaneously, and anyone can create a fork, a branch. Yeah, it could be a fork, like a Gno.Land fork of Tendermint 2, but with the intent to like merge that feature and basically always be upstreaming it to Tendermint 2 rather than becoming its own branch of Tendermint 2, right? Like that's what I would like to see. Is not another Tendermint fork out. Actually that's not maybe even a bad idea, but why not, right? Why not have multiple? Well, because Tendermint 2 really wants to be that thing that is so minimal and simple and extendable. It wants to be that which doesn't require a fork, except in cases where Gno.Land wants to create a feature that Tendermint 2 doesn't yet have, and there are several things that we still need to finish. But those things will eventually, if we plan those to eventually go back into Tendermint 2, then that's good. Isn't that better, right? So I think we can accomplish what we want with branches or a Gno.Land fork of Tendermint 2, but with the intent to upstream to change all of it to Tendermint 2 and keep Tendermint 2 this thing that others could simply something that we can all agree on, that we can just import rather than creating another Tendermint team fork. You know what I mean?
And if we have this version that we keep on GNU with the focus to synchronize it as soon as possible, but yeah, just splitting the two different processes, so we can not be blocked and take all the time needed to review from Tendermint 2. Do you prefer to have a repo on the organization or to have a subfolder in the monorepo and good synchronization scripts? So if we agree that we won't have a custom version of Tendermint 2, but we just have a personal buffer for GNU that allows maybe to have PRs touching the two projects at the same time, our own pace of review, etc., and having us to make more detailed and more prepared synchronizations to the upstream. Yeah, how do you envision this part? Do you prefer? For me, a branch in the main repo is like an hidden fork. It's an hidden fork with the same team. I don't like it too much to have a branch. I think it's not good in terms of UI on GitHub. Branches are often ignored. It's harder to manage issues and pull requests. I would prefer to have either a dedicated repository in the main organization or to have a subfolder in the monorepo and good synchronization scripts in both directions. What do you prefer?
So what I was thinking or envisioning was, if you go to gitapp.com Tendermint/Tendermint2, there's the Tendermint2 repo. It's out of date now because now there are more PRs to the Gno.Land Tendermint2, but the structure of that repo, GitHub Tendermint2, is the portion taken out, the Tendermint2 portion taken out. So something like that, except updated. And the Gno.Lang repo, I think, can otherwise stay as is. We don't need to further split this out into Gno.Land, Gno VM. Like, it just gets things removed, not shuffled, because I don't think we need to. And instead, where it used to import GitHub, Tendermint, Gno.Lang, Gno packages, BFT, it instead imports from GitHub, Tendermint, Tendermint2 packages. And okay, so in order to, and then further to modify this idea, which is pretty simple, right? You just import, you just change some of the packages somewhere else and change the imports. And then instead of importing GitHub, Tendermint, Tendermint2, Tendermint2 into GitHub, Gno.Lang, and make the changes you would want to see upstream to Tendermint 2 there freely. And then it can be my job to look at those changes and then port them up to Tendermint 2. And ideally, all the changes made to Tendermint 2 here are what we want, and it's according to the philosophy of Tendermint 2, then there's no problem. If there is a problem where you want to make changes but they're not changes that should go to Tendermint 2. So that's where, there's a conflict. Then, I think it would be ideal if we could talk about it. If like at any point I can bring it up and say, hey, can we change this PR to be more like this? Because I want to upstream what you're doing, but in a slightly different way. And we can make that change in the Gno.Land Tendermint 2 branch or a fork, right? Gno.Land Tendermint 2 fork. Then that's good. Then I'll upstream that as well, right? And then eventually, I guess there would be more funnels of changes coming into Tendermint 2, perhaps from other projects, right? And there's going to be more need to have discussion about, how to make changes, and changes would be less frequent, or they're going to be more like well packaged and complete, right? But does that make sense? So I'm saying, yeah, let's have a fork of Tendermint 2, and you can make the proposed changes all you want that will go to Tendermint 2, and then we can simply, fast forward, right, onto the GitHub Tendermint 2 project, and it doesn't matter what happens. We have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, it makes sense if we want to make something considered smart, which is to use Go modules and the replace statement to import github.com Tendermint 2, but actually taking the github.com Gno.Lang Tendermint 2 instead. It will work for everything made from a clone. It won't work for everything else. So someone importing, depending on Gno, yeah, it won't work in that case. If I create a repository importing anything from the Gno repo, the replace statement will be skipped. So it could work, but it can also lead to issues if we have 6 months of delay between the two.
Sorry, I don't understand why it wouldn't work.
Actually, yes, the Go mod replace statement is not followed recursively. So if I create a repository, it can be, I don't know, Sage blockchain that wants Gno VM. And by default, if they don't take care on this point, they won't have the replace statement. So if Gno VM depends on github.com/tendermint/tendermint2, but from the main repo, it means that it imports github.com/gnolang/tendermint2, it won't happen by default. The Go mod replace statement are not followed by default when you import something.
You can create a fork. So you can fork GitHub.
It's just about the import path. If we make
what I'm saying is keep the same import path. So the import path is still Tendermint 2, even in the repo GitHub Gno.Lang Tendermint 2. And then change the Go mod file in the Gno.Lang repo to forward it to the other one.
Yeah.
But the import path is always Tendermint 2. Yeah, then it'll work.
It will work for everyone that clones or maintain the same replace statement from their repo. But by default, Go won't follow this rule if you just import Gno. So it's just a risk. It's not something hardcore to manage, but it's just a risk of creating inconsistencies, and especially if Tendermint 2 is 6 months late in terms of updates. That's not a nightmare, actually, especially if Tendermint 2 should be stable.
I don't understand what this fast forward issue is. We used to do this before, and I've never encountered a problem.
The problem is that the Gno fork of Tendermint 2 will probably be a way beyond the upstream. Just in terms of right now, that's the case. Right now, the last commit was 4 months ago on Tendermint 2. And just consider that having this thing of using our fork in terms of Git fork and using Gomod to tell to translate import paths, it's something that won't be universal. It will work from anyone using Makefiles or cloning the repo. It won't be the default behavior for anyone importing any .go files from the GNU monorepo. So we just need to take care. Hey, if you want to use GNU not as a tool, but if you want to use one of our packages, you want to depend on GNU on your repo, on your Go code, take care of reusing or replace statements.
I understand. Okay,
Right?
yeah, if you further import it, yeah.
So that's not a big concern. Just one thing to keep in mind if we adopt this pattern. I like this pattern, to be honest. For me, it's okay. And right now, it's something that I like is that I could. Today, I don't have rights on Tendermint 2. And the good topics about this is I can already prepare two big pull requests on Tendermint 2. One about making something we discussed about using vanity URLs to just avoid depending on github.com. So in simple PR. And the second one is about synchronizing everything where the GNU repo is beyond Tendermint 2. So yeah, the good thing about this is I just create right now a clone. I can do it now, fork on GNU. And then I can work here. We can review with the GNU team. And sometimes anyone, it can be me or anyone else, open PR to synchronize our fork on Tendermint 2. So I like this on many aspects. Just keep in mind that it can create inconsistencies just because of this. We are not sure that people will use what we plan to import.
Oh. Maybe it wouldn't be bad to just have a say that Tendermint 2 lives in this repo and just have a mono repo with 4 things. I mean, I feel like people would feel like that's not good. I haven't really seen such a thing myself. Or do other projects do this?
I think yes, but in general, the fork are the main difference. For instance, on Bertie, I have a fork of Golang because I have a custom version of Go Mobile. But only us as packager needs to take care of this. For everyone else, they don't care. And it works, but because Golang is always beyond our fork. We have just one specific commit, and it's for one specific command. So the thing is, probably the GNU fork will be beyond Tendermint 2. That's already the case. Sometimes we make PRs that address that modifies GNU VM files and Tendermint 2 files. So maybe it will just create compilation errors, or probably since Tendermint 2 is very stable in terms of API, probably things will be inconsistent in a silent way, in a quiet way. So we will import another code just because we change the tooling. Things will look like working, but they will actually use an old version of the code. This is just a simple concern. It's not a nightmare. Probably it can maybe fixed with I don't know, using constants, or maybe you can find ways to verify which version we are using. I don't know. But yeah, just keep in mind this about using a fork which is away beyond the upstream, with lag, with a delay between the upstream and the fork, to create inconsistency, which is very unclear. Maybe there are solutions like adding some kind of build constraints that will look for a unique file that is only present on the fork.
What if you make a script for renaming the import path to be GitHub Gno.Land?
That's one of the options, clearly. And for me, if we go there, then the other option is to say, okay, anyway, we have scripts to rename stuff. That's basically the same like keeping Tendermint 2 in the main repo. That's not the same, but that's the same idea. Either we have script to before and after making synchronization with the main repo. Either in the same spirit of script to patch what we import and what we want to propose upstream, the monorepo approach also works.
Okay, so how about this? Imagine where we have the import rename, and so with the GitHub Gno.Lang Tendermint 2, and this is kind of the way that people should fork the projects Tendermint 2, and so this could be, so the Gno.Lang Tendermint 2 could be something that people want to import because they want some explicit feature set that like doesn't exist in Tendermint 2. And as long as we like work toward defining what that difference is, because surely there's going to be changes that you'll want, we will want as a Gno.Lang team that we don't want in Tendermint 2, and that's okay, right? As long as it's clear. But until we find that and figure out exactly what that is, if we work to upstream all the PRs to Tendermint 2, right, and make it and try to keep that relationship until we define what the difference is, then this seems like a pretty good solution.
Yeah, for me, the other option is to basically make it easy for anyone working on GNO to propose upstream changes, but yeah, expecting them to be merged not in many years. If we just work on this point, and it can be temporarily, it can be a phase while we consider Tendermint 2 to be version 0 something, so before the version 1 of Tendermint 2. Maybe we can just have no fork, no branches, nothing. We just open PRs. We have strong reviews, like we will do with GNO. Maybe stronger for Tendermint 2, since we should make sure to have at least one review made from someone external to GNO, proving that it makes sense not only for GNO. But yeah, maybe we can just have nothing. We import Tendermint 2. We don't have fork for some times, and we decide later how we want to manage the difference. And it can be with this time it can be with just a simple fork, because I think that later Tendermint 2 will be active, and GNO won't need to update Tendermint 2 often. So this time having a fork with maybe one commit beyond the upstream is clearly not a problem, even for people with that forget to make Go replacement. So if we just decide that temporarily we do this, and temporarily the people working on GNO can get quick reviews and get merged because we consider that we are the only design partner at the moment, for me it makes sense here. Make something simple and consider that later we'll probably fork it, not to change it, but to depend on something else that don't need the same review to be approved. So like creating custom branches where we cherry pick 2 or 3 ongoing PRs, but on something on the main organization, on the Gno.Lang organization. So if you agree with this, so giving more power the review and write roles on Tendermint 2, and maybe we can document this that temporarily the GNO team, which is main architect, and by the lack of having a full team and a full dedicated team on Tendermint 2, and maybe more use cases, more partners, maybe for the moment we have a little bit more opportunities to make changes to Tendermint 2 with a later process. Is it okay for you, or do you prefer to really limit who, what, and how we can contribute to Tendermint 2 right now?
So I'd say just help the following happen, and anyone can contribute to Tendermint 2, but just try to see what I want to do with Tendermint 2 and help make that happen, which is that Tendermint 2 it stays minimal. Like it's got a README file right now. Please help preserve that README file. It's on GitHub, Tendermint 2. And try not to change, there's one principle of conservatism. Don't change anything unless you really need to. I mean, there's small improvements we can make in renames and stuff, but like, please try not to do it unless it's significant improvement, because because I oftentimes a lot of changes are made with improvements that are slight, and then also bugs are introduced along the way. So less changes, I think, is better. I'm not saying you can't change anything, but if we don't need to, then it'd be better to focus on other things that we do need to change. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. If So if the directory structure was preserved with those modules, right, and we continue to keep the functionality more or less what it is, and then if we need to add things, then we have a discussion about how to add them. For example, we're having discussions about where do indexers fit in, right? Then within, and with that in mind, any changes to GitHub, Gno.Land, Tendermint 2, if it's meant to go to Tendermint 2 and upstream there, then that's great. Well, and then and you can also maybe help upstream it in the meanwhile until we figure out where there's a conflict. Like you want to make some changes and say probably it'll be me. Like I disagree. I say we should do it this way because of this reason. And then we'll find, and through conversations like this, we'll find out like, okay, there's a need to fork Tendermint 2 to create another one with this modification in mind because this team strongly believes in it and wants to maintain a fork for that indefinitely, right? Then I think that's good too, as long as we figure out what the difference is and we make it clear and we understand why we want to have a fork with this particular difference here. And then if we also talk about how to maintain those differences in flavor or forks, and you can help maintain the Tendermint vision too while you're at it, and figure out the best way to accomplish both, then that's great. So for example, what's likely to happen is like I mean, simple things like maybe Gno.Land Tendermint 2 wants to support some additional cryptographic functions. Like that's easy, right? No problem. Yeah, let's maintain it in a fork. But bigger things could be like ABCI changes, right? Where Gno.Land Tendermint 2 needs a particular ABCI function. Like it's got a new ABCI message and it does something with rollback. I don't know what, something. And But even that, eventually might become a standard in Tendermint 2, right? But until then, it'll be a thing that Gno.Land will want to maintain and promote to its users to say, hey, if you need this feature, then use our Tendermint, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just thinking about some cases we will have soon. IBC, ICS, IBC2, ICS X. When we work on this point, I think it will become harder if we have a Tendermint 2, which is kind of slow, have its own motivations, and actually we can work nearly blindly, focus on Tendermint 2 and then working on Gno. But probably ABC2, for instance, will be linked to the VM, at least for testing it.
Oh yeah. IBC2 will have, like, Tendermint would know nothing about IBC2.
Yeah.
Tendermint 2 might have, like, it might have certain relay features, right? That some IBC2 relayer can take advantage of, right? But it shouldn't know anything about IBC2 at all.
Okay. And for IBC1, for the thing we plan to do soon.
Yeah, even IBC, right? So for maintaining an IBC branch, I think it makes sense for Gno.Land Tendermint 2 to maintain its own fork with IBC 1, you know. And then over time, that could go into Tendermint 2, Tendermint 2, right? But it
Yeah.
makes sense to maintain a fork here and maintain it here. And
This
honestly, you know, it's just going to get upstream to Tendermint 2 anyways in its incomplete state, you know, with the warning on Tendermint 2 saying, you know, Gno.Land team is working on this. It's not done yet. Help us, right?
Yeah. For me, I don't think Gno will want a custom version of Tendermint 2. I just think Gno.Lang will be kind of more experimenting things. So it's just a problem of timing. I don't think we will want to be different. It's in the opposite. But yeah, making sure that we don't need to work on the Tendermint 2 good but slow process to just being able to start working on our side. I prefer to have something where it's easy to have 1, 2, 3 competing experiments, and then we can give the feedback after some testnet usage and many reviews with the global context. Then we can try to just make sure that the publish on upstream makes sense. So that's not just because we differ in the view. It's about making experimentation easier and more comfortable. Because yeah, in my case, I can work on Tendermint 2 features, but most of the time I will want to work on Gno plus Tendermint 2 features, things that needs working on 2 topics at the same time.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
Honestly,
yeah.
we don't even need Tendermint 2 to be its own repo right now. We can start off with the mono repo. I don't mind anything as long as we keep the file history, right?
Yeah.
So git blame still works and so on. Then you know, it's all good. Anyways.
Maybe we can ask opinion from the other ones here, but yeah, basically the two main options, because then we have many other sub options, but the two main ones are one to completely remove Tendermint 2 from the main repo. Then we have the option to have a fork, to have a branch, to basically we remove it from the mono repo. Or the other option is to isolate it on a subfolder, preserving the same structure than the main repo, and just having difficulty, but that I can take this topic to make the synchronization, preserving history, preserving everything where we want to push upstream. So one option is to have monorepo with ease of making cross PRs, just focusing on what we are doing in single context, and difficulties for the bridge. The other one is to have no difficulty for the bridge, but maybe for some cases, maybe it will be very not very often, to need to actually make something on one repo, then update Go mode. So maybe harder, in my mind, maybe more complex flows involving two repositories. On my side, I prefer to put the complexity on the synchronization script, but it's just about trade-off between where we move the complexity, where we move the risk, where we move the complexity actually.
This seems like a good time to see if anyone has any questions. I noticed quite a few people joined the chat. We have Alec and CyberG, M Concat, and Waz J and Pengu. They just recently joined, so if any of you want to, take the stage, unmute yourself, and maybe introduce yourself. If you have any questions, I think this could be a good time.
Thank you, Johnny. Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt the conversation that was happening. It seemed pretty important, but I think we're getting pretty close at the end of this meeting, so maybe it's a good time for questions if anyone's out there with anything on their mind.
Questions or opinion on what we said.
Or anything at all.
This is BUNT. I will say something about the separation. I think it's really the end goal when we launch the chain. What is the Tendermint release we're going to use? I think that is, pretty much right now. I don't think the current Tendermint in the Gno can talk to other chains. So I think there when we do our Tendermint 2, if we're going to launch on our Tendermint 2, and we'll launch the Gno.Land chain. I don't see there's a there's I don't see there's actually we have the resources to maintain two fork like a fork of the Tendermint in the Gno. So eventually that we pretty much will use Tendermint 2 release to launch the chain, right? So I just want to make sure that's really where thinking. And actually that determines do we use one or two.
Sorry, I heard that we don't have the resources to maintain too many forks, so maybe you're just suggesting we stick to a mono repo?
No, I stick to separate repo, but import from the Tendermint 2 repo in the Gno. Gno does not have any code to maintain for any Tendermint related code in Gno. Gno only just really to focus on GVM and languages.
That's an option I like also in terms of simplicity, but the problem I can see is this stuff of having right now a different rhythm to review, different. Yeah, probably it will be harder to work on Gno this way. I think we can say, okay, no, we don't have the option. Tendermint 2 is a standalone repo, it has a team, but then how can we hack as a Gno team? How can we make our life easier by not depending on Tendermint 2 when we develop?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we until launch keep it a mono repo, and then after launch we can split it out. So
Yeah,
we have some time to make Tendermint 2 more solid. And if we do it, if we do it later, then it'll give us more benefit. It'll be less work overall.
for me, it's a good option, but maybe we need to update Tendermint 2 repo with a warning. And still, we need to isolate Tendermint 2 source from Gno repo into a standalone folder to ease the upcoming synchronization and reduce mental load.
Yeah, well, okay. We can update the warning on Tendermint 2, and then what was the other thing? So let's do this. We'll update a warning.
Tendermint 2 repo has a warning saying this project is currently in pause, but waiting for Gno to go mainnet. Then
Right,
the plan is to we just explain why there is not too many commits. And then the other thing is about moving, so making appear on the mono repo to isolate Tendermint 2 in T2 folder at the root for two reasons. Why? Because we have mental loads of having everything mixed, and two, to make it easier to make a single extraction on the D-Day. When Tendermint 2 becomes official. So is moving Tendermint 2 in a single place, preparing the day where it will be standalone. Maybe have dedicated CI rules just to make sure Tendermint 2 is unique and not depending on GNO. And that's all, actually. And the D-Day, we remove Tendermint 2 in favor of the upstream, which is up to date. So on your side, on Tendermint 2, a nice disclaimer. On our side, isolating Tendermint 2 and just making sure that it has a standalone make file, maybe a fake chain that won't do anything useful, but just proving that we can make a chain without GNO VM. And some CI rules. So if you work on Tendermint 2 and break something, it won't be the whole project that fails, but Tendermint 2 that fails. So virtually.
All right, let's do that, and then we'll have time to figure out when we want to actually split out Tendermint 2, and we can have that conversation later. Maybe it won't even happen. Okay.
Okay, I will make a simpler version of my split focused on just isolating Tendermint 2 with a README announcing that the goal is to extract this folder later in favor of the upstream, and that we will decide even later how we want to keep updating upstream and our dependency. So okay, it's clear on my side for this point. Does anyone have any things to share on this point?
Anyone want to talk about something else?
And is the plan okay for you? So staying in monorepo temporarily until basically having one Tendermint 2 at a time. At the moment in the monorepo, later only on Tendermint 2.
What I want for Tendermint 2 is for almost like every submodule, or at least some grouping to be there, and then through approval create like maintainer set or owners, some structure could be M of N or some tree structure, who knows, and put it on the DAO. But also with the intent that it's really not intended to keep functioning, but we want to. The goal for Tendermint 2 is to stop development and complete it. So these people should be helping us get to completion by a certain date. But anyways, I mean, like, this is like a useful structure for any project. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that there will, I do want to create experiments with ownership of Tendermint 2 submodules. So if someone is really proficient in the code and understands, like, then they should help maintain it. and I want to create this substructure, and use Gno.Land to help maintain it. And eventually, we should have the code base served by the blockchain, I guess. Eventually, we'll use Git on chain, and this system will integrate into that.
I have ideas for this to make both smart contracts importable from Go and the source code importable. Yeah, both from the chain itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bonus. It's fun. It's about pure decentralization, but I keep it for later if nobody works on it before. But yeah, I have an option where we only depend on the chain itself and Git and Golang.
Mm-hmm. Well, would it make sense then to have like, you know how in like Stack Overflow you get like badges? What if every module could also work on challenges or something, some way to, or like automatic detection of work already done or something, or assessment of work already done or something, or standard assessment test or something, to give people badges that say, like, I'm proficient in Tendermint 2 P2P or in consensus. And then it'll be easier for blockchain projects to find engineers and kind of get the right people to do exactly what they want.
Yeah, it joins the idea from B1T from 2 weeks ago about having not only DAO memberships but also skills, where I think we should do it, but probably it should be at the discretion of each sub-DAOs to attribute those badges. So some of them can try to automate it or not. But yeah, maybe I will lead, I don't know, the sub-DAO of something. I can attribute badges to anyone in the evaluation DAO. So then yeah, it's you can write your skill by yourself. You can maybe have something that can be tricked, but something automated. And then you have the last level, the verified badge, but not only one per skill or one per sub-DAO. I clearly want something like this. So the good mix between one of the good part of NFTs and token gating, while reusing the sub-DAO spirit, which is flexible. So it has choice to have some automated part, or to be very strict on how to attribute those badges. So yes, I think we all want this kind of automatic LinkedIn, fact-driven LinkedIn, but with different approaches. On my side, it's about having the DAO deciding everything, and then allowing automation and scripts to empower the DAO. On the other side, it can be more a free form. So yeah, like something with scripts and automated. Maybe you can have the best of both worlds with vanity metrics that can be tricked, but that are still useful because it gives many good things, like maybe the first interaction with the DAO and the last one. So you have a notion of seniority, automatic seniority, and then you can have a verified approval by someone or some team that you should trust to only deliver the badge to people that deserve it. I would love seeing the two systems, vanity metrics and certifications. Last point, Jae, are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
So isolating T2 with a disclaimer on both sides is a no-brainer of being simple yet future-proof. I think you dislike the idea of also creating a top-level folder for Gno.VM, which will and another one for Gno.Land. So instead of having CMD, pkgs, stdlibs, tests, we have at the end Gno.VM/pkg, Gno.VM/cmd, Gno.VM/test, and on the other side, Gno.Land/cmd without the test folder, which is only important for people updating Gno.VM.
I think that's wonderful. Let's try it out. It makes the separations clear. We'll probably want to split it out in the long run. Anyways,
I'm working it on a branch. I love it personally, but maybe for you the git blame is really more important.
well, I don't see why we couldn't do it while preserving git blame. A lot of these will be like moving folders.
Yeah. I also try it to support 99% of the changes and follow and make the follow-up automatically. But maybe we'll lose some of them. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I want to understand what Git does. So please, if you see it not track changes, help me see it in the PR. I'll take a look just to see what's happening. But I get it. If it doesn't work sometimes because of a quirk or glitch of Git, then that's what it is.
Yeah, just my experience is that I already in the current repo look at one file, and when you look at the history, at some point it says sorry, the file changed, but you have link. So it's one more click, but you have the link. Maybe improvement in the GitHub UI will allow to make it transparent. But right now, yeah, you don't lose anything. Just the UI is not the best. I think that the CLI will be less efficient than GitHub on this point. Probably GitHub has better overview of the whole repo. Don't know, but yeah. So that's not perfect, but actually the split for me is way better, and it makes it way more discoverable and allow people to just say, okay, no, I don't care about everything. I'm here just for the language. I'm here just for writing contracts. I'm here just to understand Tendermint to see the chain itself. I personally prefer a lot the full split. So let me finish it since it's something ongoing. And if you don't like it, I can make a minimal version with just Tendermint 2 isolation.
No, let's go with your full vision. Let's see what it looks like. I think we'll be on the same page.
Yeah. Anything to add? Everybody on this point on refactoring, making the repo a monorepo, but with good separation, allowing to reduce the mental load, to focus more, maybe to have more flexibility on how you develop, how you mock stuff, etc.
Yeah, and Git has this thing where like if you move files, even when you use git mv, sometimes the commit, like if you do like a git diff or whatever, it doesn't show up as a move, and so you lose git blame.
I
If anyone
think that when you have too much diff.
Huh?
I think that when you have too much diff, it thinks that it's one file removed and another one added instead of just moving with one line changed. I think it's just a threshold of percent of lines changed.
Yeah, well, it's weird. If anyone knows how to work around it and solve this problem, then that would be nice too. Then we can preserve git blame. That would be really nice.
Yeah, if there is additional comments I should run, it will take time, but I will be happy to help Git to understand the intention. maybe there is a low-level editor like git rebase -I, the interactive mode. Maybe there is a mode where you can have an editor and helping in figure out if a file moved or was deleted and another one was added.
Yeah, maybe there's a simple way to change a file name into a different directory.
Oh, and while you are there, because I don't know if Petar is here, but he has a PR which is nearly finished and we need your review. It's a 625 about using a sync pool for machine constructor. You reviewed it and you had discussion with him just to know if it's okay for you to continue, because your first comment was about, whoa, it could be dangerous. So can you just approve that it's not dangerous anymore? Do you want to mark the PR as potentially dangerous and block it until we fix everything?
I'm sorry, which PR is this?
625. Thank you, Morgan, for your comment on this. Morgan is answering by text on our previous question about how to preserve history. And yes, if Jay, you think we need more time for this PR, just mark it as a change requested with a basic message. Okay, so Morgan, maybe I can make a single PR using merge commit and making sure by myself to make the rebase. So one is about moving and the other one is about updating. Okay, great. I think I tried this and I still had an issue making GitHub unclear about it was just a move, but it was also my feeling that I could help GitHub understand. I could help Git understand the flow by splitting the move and the edit. I will give a try. The good news is that we can give try before merging. Thank you, Night Rider. It means that Morgan is better than ChatGPT.
Sounds like a pretty natural stopping point. Do we want to do a last call for questions? Any last closing comments, you guys?
I'm sorry for everyone about taking all the meeting about how we want to manage a simple monorepo structure. Promise the next time we will speak more about crypto, smart contract, peer-to-peer, and low-level stuff. On our side, it's important, just so you know it's.
It would be good to get more questions, or just, yeah, it could be questions about anything, about what you're trying to figure out. If you have any questions about the repo and the project, right, we can help. So that would be nice for office hours too.
Yeah, we have DevRails joining the force soon, and one of their goals will not be like us to just fix bugs, but to dig the why the bugs happen, what people want to do with Gno. So yeah, we will have dedicated person for this. We should be able to help you on very low level stuff, opinion, vision, and also giving deeper support for people that try to push the limits or to work on stuff which are still undocumented. So feel free to ask now and expect even more support coming soon.
I see there's some people typing. I kind of want to wait to see what's going on there. But we're planning on having this call again in 2 weeks, next Tuesday.
Yeah, the current plan, so anyone know, is to have a bi-weekly office hour on Discord, similar to this one. Maybe we'll have a more accurate agenda at some point, but yeah, keeping this format, anyone can speak by text, by voice, and else we just discuss the current topics. And we have, so it's a bi-weekly and the opposite bi-weekly. So at the end, you have an event per week. The opposite bi-weekly is a developer call, which is available for anyone to listen live or to check back later, and which is restricted to the core team, including the staff, the partners, the main contributors. So here we are more discussing about deep topics and unblocking roadmaps and alignment in projects. So yeah, at the end, you can follow what's going on a weekly basis, either on Discord here or synchronously or asynchronously with the developer call. If I'm not wrong, it's now the same day, on a weekly basis, the same day. Just we change the location, but not sure about this point.
Nir says, some people may need help getting started. They want to contribute, but they don't know where to start. It would be nice to pair them with core contributors. I think that's a little bit like the intention of this call, to sort of get people on the same page and share what everyone's working on. It's also a great opportunity to ask like Manfred and Jae questions directly. Yeah, Manfred.
Yeah, actually, people can discuss on Discord, on Twitter about the project, its vision, whatever. And one of the best place to speak technical, which can be bug fix, question, whatever, is GitHub. It's organized by thread, and yeah, actually, you have 3 tools. Just pick up the best one and just be prepared to eventually move to something more appropriate in some cases. Then we have 2 kind of talks. One with core contributors, which today is basically a team of 20%, more or less, and it's optional, so sometimes it's very, very small. But this core contributor virtual team is designed to have 300, many people, maybe infinite people inside. So, but the question is how to enter this group. You have two options. The options to make a lot of contributions and become a core contributor because you made famous PRs. That's the case today for everyone in this team. But let's imagine you are someone with very good knowledge. Maybe you developed IBC and Cosmos. Maybe you write a good white paper on DAO governance. So many good reasons to want to speak with us before making contributions. This call, the office hour, is currently the main way to discuss directly with us in a public way. But yeah, the goal is to progressively go where we have a filtered room with core contributors by text, by voice. But we want to have a way to discover other people, the ones that that consider contributing, but that's not yet the case. So please use this office hour to just present you and show your interest and your skills, even if you are not a contributor yet.
Concat, did you want to say something? I think I saw you unmute for a moment.
Yeah. It's working now. Yep. Hi. So I just want to introduce myself. I was working in Tendermint, from 2018 to 2020, and then I moved to Osmosis. During when I was in Tendermint, I was mostly working on IBC and Cosmos SDK, and I was one of the core designer of the IBC protocol. So right now, I am not directly involving and directly contributing to the GNO VM code base right now, but I am advising and helping on block team who is working on GNO swap protocol, GNO swap project, and if I can help or give any make any involvement in the IVC integration and any interchain or VM related stuff on the GNU code base, that'll be grateful for me and it sounds very fun for me. So once again, nice to meet you, and my name is June. I'm using the handle mconcat, which is a functional programming reference. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. If you are someone who is potentially aligned life and skills, please use this meeting to present you so we can check how we can work together. We want IBC, we need more help. So I don't know, Jay, since you are there, what are you thinking about people with good intention and skills, but nothing about GNU yet? Should we ask them to dig more GNU first? Should we ask them to be able to maybe discuss on issues, on corresponding issues with? I don't know actually. What do you suggest?
Maybe trying to get the smart contract system to work and trying to submit transaction and get a local test net running with their own contracts that they start to tinker with, get some file tests running, or really just starting in Go and thinking about what they want to write in the blockchain context, so in the smart contract context. Probably is pretty straightforward. I guess not straightforward, but it's an open space, and we all need to figure that out. So it would be nice to start from a blank slate, because it is a blank slate to work on the smart contract components, right? But if they want to work on the layers below the smart contract, like the VM or Tendermint, then yeah, reading the code and trying to see issues. Also looking at maybe a good exercise would be to see what changed in Tendermint Core or Comet BFT. Like how are they doing it? What's the difference? And then looking at just recent developments there to get a sense of what people are thinking. That would be a useful exercise to just read the code. I don't know. Does that help?
I think it replies to the thing about please prove us that you dig enough, so it's easier to just discuss on topics and align. But maybe for people like mcomcat, maybe the issue is I'm not sure that you need my help. And if that's not the case for you, just making it easier to use this call where anyone can join. I don't know if we need to give more visibility. I don't know what we need to do, but just helping people to know if they want to start working with us. How can we help them figure out this and maybe help us figure out their motivation? I don't know. Or can we just make sure that for everyone, we don't lose time and we go efficiently on something where we are aligned that we want to work together? I don't know what's your case, mconcat. Do you know what you could work on? Are you sure that you would like to work with us, or are you just curious and exploring possibilities?
Yeah, so I could summarize in two parts mostly in my personal case. So one is the VM side, which is like writing interpreter and like doing like a programming language stuff is what something I always wanted to do. And Gno right now is a functional VM that is going to support the whole node chain. So contributing in the VM itself is one thing that I want to make a contribution of. And the second is the interchain, the IBC integration that uh, so I don't know what's the current status of the native integration with the IBC from the GNU contract side, but I'm pretty sure that potentially it is intended to support that the contract calls like IBC packet send and IBC packet receive within defined inside of the contract itself. So those kind of integrations, like a developer UX for the IBC usage from the contract side, is something that I am also interested in.
Oh, right. Of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We could use more documentation, like write out more of the plan or of what IBC and GNOME integration, looks like and what it means. Like, what does it mean to import a pure package versus a realm? Imagine we want to support realm imports after pure package imports because one is pretty straightforward, and the other one, requires a bit more thinking. There's like different models of calling across chain, right, between like a function call or a message send. Anyways, regardless of when we roll it out, yeah, there's differences, and 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 we have to figure out the actual what it looks like, the APIs, right? I think we discussed some of this last time, and when we were talking about like channels, using channels, or but because we don't have channels, we can get started with an interface for that uses an interface, right, to write and receive messages. So were you there in the last call?
I was not, unfortunately. I missed it like a summertime and
Oh,
missed the
okay.
call for 1 hour.
Yeah, well, I think we might have a recording of it, but basically, it was like, um, it goes like this. All right, so we want Okay, so I'll just kind of try to repeat what I said and clarify it. So we want to integrate Gno.VM with IBC1, right? Just the IBC that already exists. And when you import a pure package, so Gno.Lang /p/ whatever, that's pretty straightforward what it does, right? The package would get cached, I guess, locally on the other chain, and it'll just be available to import. And because it's immutable and there's no state, it's simple as that. And then when it comes to interacting with realm packages which have state, well, we could, the problem with like making a function call to the other chain is now we're talking about an asynchronous system, and we don't even have concurrency implemented yet in the Gno.VM, so we don't have yet like the support for channels and select statements, right? But we will. But in order to, we can have IBC cross-contract calls even before we figure that out, and this is how we do it. What we do is, what we could do is we could basically open a connection to another chain, perhaps to the other chain's realm somewhere, and receive two channels. Right? One is where you send function calls, and the other is where you receive responses. So I guess you can maybe what you do is you open a channel, you open a connection to a realms function. I don't know, or the message going, so the request and the response objects encapsulate includes the function name that you're calling. So it's a generic request and response object. And then in one channel you send the request, and the other you receive responses, something like this. And then since we don't have channels yet, we need to emulate these channels with an interface. So the interface would have like a send request method as well as a receive response method or something like this. And so this way,
this sounds
yeah.
This sounds like a proto service type of the communication, right? So there's like a RPC endpoint, and of course there will be like no concrete endpoint like a proto defined, but there is like a response and request and response channels, and each of them actually basically works like a remote procedure call between the two contracts in both chains.
Yeah, to get started, right? That's what it could look like. But yeah, there's a lot of space design here, and and how to make it most usable with how to make it easy to use and produce these channels, right? Is a question that we don't know the exact answer to. So there needs to be experimentation and then we also had a conversation, where we concluded that we like the design of how kind of like gRPC does things, where you define like an application, right? And then in Go, I guess an interface is pretty similar. So we want maybe something that is an analog of that starts with GNO interfaces. Maybe it generates some code too. So maybe there's some code generation perhaps.
IBC channel in the Gno.Land right now, then it means that it is not yet like integrated, right? So like the channel is not usable in the Gno code base, the IBC channel.
Yeah, well, we don't support channels yet, so everything is currently synchronous.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's why, yeah, channels are not supported because there's no need for it. Use it right now.
The Gno.Land channels, not the IBC channels.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've been talking about Gno.Land.
I see.
Yeah.
In terms of main step, we need to have support for channels in the GNO itself. Then we can simulate that the chain is able to fill and receive and read the channel. So from the chain itself, then we can probably develop a lot of these features, considering that IBC will be developed and that the chain will be able to pass trusted new info to the channel, etc. And then we will have the IBC part with Tendermint 2, which is something that can be done probably in standalone way for most part. And at the end, we need to find a way to probably link, configure, maybe with routing, maybe not, or can eventually another chain using IBC, using the relayer, using proof, cryptography, and all the security and the consensus, or we can make the chain to append something in the queue from the chain itself. So yeah, we need to have the features for GNO. Using it even outside of this use case, then we need to make the bridge between the chain and GNO, and then to make secure way of passing messages with the relayer from the chain to the contract. We have multiple steps to achieve.
Oh, we don't need to support channels to get there. We can get started with some other model that instead of using channels,
Just an interpreter std.qreceive qsend, something like that. So yeah, an helper instead. Yeah, we can't keep the channel needs at the beginning, but then one channel is probably the best way, the most idiomatic way. But just so you know, at the end, we still need to define this new interface and then make sure that we are able for IBC and relayer patterns or for other reasons, maybe cron jobs, maybe, I don't know, app chains with custom features. We need to make it convenient from the chain to append new things on a contract queue and read the answer. It can also maybe useful for other relayer type like things like chain link or stuff like that. So yeah, at the end we want the contract to just consider that there is a place to get new message or just get an error like the inbox is empty. And in the other direction, having a way to push message or get an error, sorry, the outbox is full. If we do this, it opens many possibilities, including IBC2 features, or I don't know, I don't have all the patterns, but yeah, cron jobs, chaining stuff, or distributed oracles, IBC2, and maybe other patterns. And yeah, just so you know, the previous question was not about IBC, but would it make sense to have something similar in terms of API between contracts on the same chain? So without all the same constraints, but would it make sense to consider having a contract-to-contract way of appending tasks that will be managed by the contract later, potentially, instead of having as a unique way of communication to import something and execute something right now. We try to see how much it could benefit to have a unique API for both IBC and contract-to-contract interaction in the same chain. That's why also it's more complex than just choosing the fast shortcut. We try to think about something that makes sense, idiomatic, and managing many cases with simplicity.
Yeah, if we want to use IBC for inter-contract call within the same chain, so we have a solo machine. We have a solo machine working, I think, inside of the Cosmos SDK, not the SDK, the Go IBC repo right now. which is intended to use like those kind of functionalities. So using IBC to basically loop back into the same chain that is connected to the other parts of the other logics inside of the chain. But we can take account that logic to think about how we can abstract the intercontract call within the same chain and the intercontract call through the IBC to the other chain. And if we can, I think, use the same interface for both of the cases and just switch out the client interface later to that solo machine or
Probably
something. Yep.
we probably won't use IBC for the same chain interaction, but we're considering using a similar API. And maybe we won't, or maybe we will, and use helpers to make it more transparent when using it without the constraints of asynchronous and uncertainties about the completion of a transaction. So just so you know, to have the full context, we have plans for IBC. We need help for IBC. We also look at it on a more global way on how it could make sense. We like in GNO not to make features because the feature would be there, but just to imagine, okay, we are on a greenfield project. The Go language was invented for contracts. What would be the most idiomatic way? Oh, the inventors of Go would have defined the language, the interfaces, the stdlibs, if we forget everything, every other constraint. So we want simple Go that make contracts, determinism, and with features like IBC, intercontract. We want queue and API without having to construct bridges and marshalling stuff. Or we can make something simpler than writing Web 2 apps, because we are not looking to make it as easy as writing Web 2 apps. We want to make something simpler. Microservice in Web 2 ecosystem can be harder than what we are doing with contracts, thanks to our level of abstractions and built-in features in the language. At some point, writing Web 2 Golang could be harder. So in this specific case, IBC is an important feature for us. Probably we'll make a choice only for IBC, but we can take a little bit more time to try finding a global solution that could make sense. So feel free to help on this. I don't know exactly how you can. If you want to work both on GNOVM and IBC, I suggest, as Jay suggested, to just give a try. Try to write contract, try to run a local node to be able to just see what's happening in the logs when you interact with the chain. And feel free to open new issues or with your proposal of what you plan to do, so we can just give you our feeling on how good is your idea, or differently we will do it by ourselves. Feel free to join existing initiatives. So right now, there are ones in Evaluation DAO, writing tutorials, and governance module. IBC is an important topic. Right now, it's not yet led by a specific person, so it's just a topic we discuss regularly. At some point, we will elect a lead and define that the focus is to make it happen. So feel free to start working on it, exploring, show your interest. So we are aware. And contact us if you make the first step of discovering the project by yourself. We can help you then try to identify the best outcome we can expect from you based on your current expertise.
Yep, I understood the context now, and among those, like a few areas that I could contribute, I think IBC is more suited for me. I of course have to dig into more, but I am already have to help some of the things on the VM side too, while I'm helping on block team. I think I can start I don't know, just ideation and do the write-up about how could we make this intercontract call and IBC integration thing.
Jay, I have a question about this. So right now, the only way to discuss with us without being an identified contributor is this call. But in his case, he's working with Unblock. He has expertise on topics that we want to address. Can we try to adapt the current virtual core contributor teams with meetings, etc., to people, like him, and just notice that maybe we'll change our mind. Later, we'll have a DAO, we'll have obvious rules to enter the team. At the moment, we try to make something efficient. But yeah, I would like to be able to invite people without it to be an open bar. I don't want anyone to join just because they show interest. But yeah, here we have an existing collaboration with Unblock and expertise on something that we're interested into. Do you prefer to wait for some proof, or can we consider this case that okay, you can join for few sessions? What do you think here?
To join us for which sessions?
Yeah, do we want to enforce some rules like making contributions to join the more advanced discussions?
No, the private discussions, quote unquote.
Yeah, or do we want to open it, but having some kind of tasting period where people
Right.
can, and then we see. I just don't want to lose people with aligned interest and expertise.
No,
Because
yeah, I think we can add them. Yeah, of course.
But in the meantime, I suggest you to give a try and discover the project anyway.
Yep. I think there was some PR around about the intercontract call implementation or something. I don't know whether it's closed or not right now, but I think there are some discussions ongoing on that specific topic, and gonna hop into it.
Okay, great. So I will just ping Dongwon to help him making it happen. Is there anybody else that want to present him or herself? And yeah, what's your interest? What do you like about the project? What you want to work on? Or is it good for today? Maybe we are very late on the expected agenda. Johnny, you're still there?
Yeah.
Do you
Shall we
think
wrap it up then?
I think we should maybe close this one since it was long.
Yeah, it went 2 hours, but I think it was filled with really good conversation.
Yeah.
Let's just plan on meeting in 2 weeks. I think everyone here was really quite interested, and maybe we can come back with more questions and maybe more contributions and things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thanks for everyone being here. Yeah, I think it's probably good to let everyone have a little bit of their time back, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.